Hello and welcome to Talkin Baseball. Breakout! Who are going to be the new dudes in Major League Baseball this year? Not you, Coach. Let's talk about it. Roki Sasaki.
Bunt. Can't feel this position.
Can't feel. That's his one weakness.
Those splitters.
They didn't talk about that in the scouting report. He can probably do that fantastic. Hello and welcome to Talkin Baseball, presented to you by SeatGeek. Coach Trev out in LA. Myself, Jake Storielli, and Rob Sirocco here in New York City. New York City in February, baby. Doesn't get better than that. We are less than a week from the pitchers reporting. The pitchers have already reported, by the way.
Everyone's already at their spring training site.
Did that? I don't want to back in your debut, but like it feels like this is this new or is this just social media being like, hey, everyone starts renting their place February 1st, so if you're down here, you might as well start throwing?
There's a little bit of that. Nice call, Pop. I think there's a couple different reasons why guys would go down early. You want to make a good impression, or maybe you live in a cold weather state and you want to get acclimated. I think that's a big thing for guys is allergies. You go to these places, man. You need time to adjust. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
You got to get down to Florida early. Get down, like everywhere is different. And I feel like, sometimes when you make that change, like you just get a little bug or whatever. Like it's just nice to get acclimated. So yeah, if you're in a cold weather place or somewhere that doesn't have great facilities, you just get down there. If you have somewhere that you like and you're a veteran, like maybe you show up the day of report. But I would say 85% of the guys go down at least a week early.
Yeah, I mean, all the pitchers now, it feels like a requirement that, like, I saw our guy Jared Jones, saw him twirling the pill on Instagram. It's that time. I forget what day it was. It was like about a week ago, there was like 5 or 6 baseball players that did their like end of winter post. And it's like, yeah, let's go. Let's go.
Putting it out there for the clicks, baby. Yeah, and I think there are guys also like, yeah, I'll go down to Scottsdale early.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, get down there, get with the boys, have a few dinners before it just gets crazy. There's a lot of reasons, man. I used to go early. I just like to get down there and again, just like have some time to settle in instead of like getting down there and like the next day you're up at 5:30, like going to. It's just you want to get there.
Want to get there.
Put some spikes on. That's another thing people don't talk about, dude. You gotta get your spikes on.
That's why I start wearing my Timbos, my Timberland in the winter. It's just a different feel. You got to get the legs used to it. The click.
You wear them in July, just like, okay, I know it's coming.
Just one day, just one summer day. Trev, we spend a lot of the off season talking about the free agents and the trades. Then I've given this speech before, and then every year we're like, well, turns out this team is great this year. Turns out the Pirates pitching is good because Skeens, Jones, who else were they? Luis Ortiz, who they sneaky traded this offseason. Pirates for clicks. Young guys getting better is probably the most important part of every baseball team. And every year there's breakout, there's new talent on the scene. And we were thinking of the different ways to slice this, because you could go to every team and be like, oh, this guy, he's got all the tools, or this guy's got. So we're going division by division. Who popped out? Trev's taking his American League. I'm taking my National League. So we're gonna highlight one guy from the division. We'll mention a couple of the just miss or guys that it looked like. But Trev, even before that, you were mentioning this to me, and I was like, I don't have much to add, but you talked about what it takes to break out. And is that a change, a fundamental change? Is that a mental change? Is that feeling failure for the first time and growing through that? So I want to hear you talk about that.
Yeah, I think it's a really fun conversation. I mean, I definitely had a situation in my career where I had a breakout like month, and there were certain reasons for it, but it can be different things for different people. I think you hit one. I think the most important thing is what you said last right there. A lot of these guys, and we're going to talk about a few of them, fail for the first time ever in baseball, like truly fail, like feel like they are not a good baseball player
Right.
at the major league level in front of everyone. They feel like the world is crashing down, and that is something that you have to learn. I went through that in the minor leagues. That was the first time I was not a good baseball player, was in the minor leagues. I tasted failure. I'd had bad years, and it was very difficult, but you have to mentally just overcome that. You have to understand that it is a game of failure, especially on the offensive side, and you just have to find a way through that, and guys cope with it differently. I developed a mindset that I just was like, "You know what? Like, I don't care what is happening. I'm going to be confident." And it's like sometimes it's like not great for me. Like I just think I'm good
Mm.
at everything when I'm not. But that I had like that was a learned skill for me. It wasn't something I just like had. And some people go that route. Other people have have that first failure, make mechanical adjustments. I think one of the guys we're going to talk about, or that I'm going to talk about, I think needs to make a mechanical adjustment to become a breakout star. So there's the failure aspect of it. I think there is a playing time aspect to it. A lot of times, if you make it to the major leagues, chances are in the minor leagues you were playing every single day, and that allows you a little bit of runway to go 0 for 4 or 0 for a series. But you're playing every day, and you can get through that, and then you get to the major leagues, and maybe your position is blocked, or maybe there's a couple guys, and you're only playing 3 days a week. That's a huge adjustment for guys. At the end of my career, when I wasn't a starter anymore, and I was kind of like coming off the bench, I just didn't know how to do it.
Mm.
I think people don't give those guys credit enough. Guys that can come off the bench, like a Miggy Rowe, or there's a ton of guys you could mention, guys that don't play every single day, but still are able to keep their timing, or the confidence level up. I think that's a big part of it. So some of these guys on this list will be guys that maybe the opportunity to play every day is finally going to come. So I think there's that aspect to it. But you could really talk about a lot of different things. And I don't mean to be like so long-winded about it, but I feel like I'm pretty versed in this because I've just seen it from a bunch of different angles. For a hitter, I think you can get away with a lot of things at the minor league level that you can't get away with at the major league level. I've mentioned this on the show before. In the minor leagues, you're going to face a pitching staff that, there's a couple guys that are like, okay, like this
Right.
guy's a true major leaguer, and that. The other guys, maybe they're finding their way, but you can make do against those guys, the lesser guys on the pitching
Well, and
staff.
we see it at the major league level that like
Sure.
think about how we talk about relievers and starters. If you don't have a third pitch, there's almost no chance you can be a starting pitcher. That's how good hitters are. That on the minor league level, like you might be seeing a guy who, yeah, he's a prospect, but right now he only has a fastball. So it's like, okay, so let's work on that. Or I know one of the stats that and I think there's different ways to get access to it now, but in the minor league levels, I think there's some guys that you might look at their stats and it's like, this guy's been an 850 OPS. Why isn't this guy more of a prospect? But he only hits fastballs. So it's like, okay, well, guess what? If you get to the big league and that's the only pitch you can hit, you're not going to be a big leaguer. So keep going. Sorry.
I think I've told this story before, or maybe I haven't. I had a hitting coach, Floyd Rayford, Sugar Bear.
Hmm.
Actually, just had a great conversation with Eddie Murray about him, and he had a bunch of great stories.
Flex.
Name drop, my bad.
Yeah.
He was my hitting coach. We were in AAA. We were in Pawtucket, and we were getting diced up. I forget who the pitcher was, man. I forget who it was. But he was one of the better pitchers in the international league. That was AAA in the
Clay
international league at that
Buchholz.
time. What's that?
Clay Buchholz.
It might have been him. No, I don't. I think he like raced through the minor leagues. And so we're getting diced up, and I'm watching Floyd, and he's just pacing up and down the dugout, and every once in a while he'll just like go to the trash can and just like kick it, and his head's down. Is this just like worst body language you'll ever see?
Nice.
And so I'm like, Floyd, like, what's up, dude? Like, why are you so upset? Like, this guy's like the best pitcher in the
Mm,
league. Like, we're like, we've been hitting well. Like this, this guy's good. And he looks at me and he goes, Cliffy, what do you think this guy's going to be in the major leagues?
mm,
You think he's going to be an ace? And I started to think, I'm like, probably not an ace
right.
for the Red Sox. He's like, this guy's going to be a fifth starter in the big leagues. If you guys can't hit this mother, you ain't got a shot. And that clicked for me. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so right. That's the difference. Minor leagues, you'll get guys that are good. You'll get guys that are kind of filler guys, especially when I played when there was more divisions in the minor leagues, more leagues. You get filler guys. And that is something that's why they pared the minor leagues down. It's because 95% of those guys really had like no chance. They were just there so
Right.
the guys they thought were going to be big leaguers had guys to play against. It's the dirty truth of the minor leagues. And every once in a while, one of those guys broke out and became a guy. So, whatever. Um, the difference in the major leagues is it's every freaking day you are facing someone that was the best pitcher in the minor leagues. It's every single day. It doesn't stop. So it gets daunting as a hitter. You have to overcome so much. And I think that's where a lot of guys struggle initially is, man, there's just no let up. So there isn't somebody that you can just bank on, okay, man, I can take a breath and I'm going to face 88 or 91 and this guy only has 1+ pitches. Like, dude, every single day you're facing someone and they might look like not that great compared to their counterparts, the aces of the staff, but they still have major league stuff. And I think that's where a lot of guys struggle at the big level for the first time and have to just figure out like what they can do to combat that. So I think that's what we'll get into for almost all of my hitters. I think that's kind of where I see the adjustment coming and the breakout coming.
Well, let's get into a little bit. I dish the AL to you. You know what? This is just for me. The American League is brought to you by our Warehouse Games. Go check out what's going on right now. Well, two things. Blitzball that's taken off. It's become nuts. You guys might have seen it on TV. Whoops. We are filming our next Blitzball Battle 6 coming up next week. Jeez. Start stretching, Trev. It's an amazing product. You have to go watch it. Competitive, drama, all of it. It's unreal. And right now, we have Slapball coming out, which if you're not familiar with Slapball, it's a sport we've made up, but people love it, and it's like our favorite thing in the office. We kind of made up a game in our warehouse. It's competitive. It's fun. People love watching it. So go check out our Warehouse Games channel. Subscribe to that. A lot of breakout players there. Who you got in the AL East, Trev? Couple good ones. You're going
There's a couple good
Dominguez,
ones.
right? Dominguez
What's
from the
that?
Yanks, right?
Hyeseong Dominguez.
Yeah.
I hope so. I got a lot of his baseball cards, bro. You guys kept hyping the guy up. I think this is kind of a layup, but I think it lends itself to a good discussion. It's Jackson Holliday.
Okay.
We know the pedigree. 1-1, I believe. Yeah, 1-1 pick. We know who his dad is. We know who his family is. His brother's going to be the 1-1 pick going to the Nationals. Congratulations. You won the offseason. A highly touted guy, breezed through the minor leagues. He's 21 years old right now, and everyone just kind of expected him to be, the next guy to come up with the Orioles and have that success. I mean, we saw, a ton of the guys have done that. They had the farm system. We saw the numbers in Norfolk. They were scoring 30 runs a game, and everyone was waiting for these guys to do it. And sure enough, Adley came first, and then it was, G-Rod, then it was Gunner, and then it was Westberg and Colton Cowser. All these guys have had success, and Jackson Holliday was going to be the next guy. And we're like, oh my gosh, this team's they're going to run the AL for the foreseeable future. And he came up and struggled. Over last year, 208 plate appearances, 189, 255, 311 slug for a 566. At times looked just overmatched. And I think he's one of the guys who I talk about, this is the first time he struggled in the big leagues and all that pressure that comes along with it, especially playing in the AL East. I know, people don't want to hear that, but there are divisions that are a little bit more stressful than other divisions.
Yes.
I think the travel on the AL East can get a little weird sometimes. I think I guess there's weather almost everywhere. Like the Central is not great in weather, but the AL East is another one that the weather's not great in early in the season. All these things come into play, but for him, I think it's a mechanical issue.
Okay.
Like I said, in the minor leagues, you face guys where you can have some mechanical flaws and still make up for it with your natural ability. If you watch Jackson Holliday hit, um, he's got like a leg kick. It's an early leg kick, but I just think it's a little bit too big right now. And what I tell even my youngest guys, my 9U SoCal Padres team, shout out. We had our first practice of the spring. Is it spring yet? Whatever.
Okay.
Had that yesterday. I talk about eliminating excess movement all the time because these guys are so freaking good, Jake, that um, you just have to. Last year, Jackson Holliday on four-seam fastballs, -3 run value, and I think it had something to do with the height of his leg kick. Now he gets it up early, but because it's high, harder to it's harder to catch up to velo unless you're perfect. Like, your timing has to be so, so good. I always give Mike Moustakas as an example of a guy who I really liked his lower half because he got started really early, but his cleats, like, scrape the ground. Like, he never, like, got his foot, like, super
Mm,
up. It was more like he coiled with his foot just, like, it's like I swear they were scraping the dirt.
mm.
Holiday's more of an and you see this, I think, a lot more from new school hitters as we're more into biomechanics and how do we maximize our power. Like we're doing as much as we can. That's great because you can do that in the cage and you can do that in your training facility and you're going to get crazy exit velocity numbers and it's all good. But the guy on the mound now, he controls what's going on. So I think with one slight adjustment, I think we see Jackson Holliday turn into the guy that he can be. He has barrel accuracy. Like he knows what to do. Everything works. It's just, I think, having that timing right day in and day out will come with just a little bit of a swing adjustment. Just having that leg kick just down a little bit. I don't mean he doesn't have to get his foot down earlier. He doesn't have to completely can it. It just has to be a little bit smaller so he can make those adjustments. So he doesn't get blown up by a fastball. It seemed to me, and Orioles fans, let me know, the times that I watched him, I felt like he was in between pitches, and that is the worst place to be. You want to be on time for the fastball with the ability to adjust to the breaking ball. And all that means is you're starting at the right time, but you can control when you start your swing. And the higher your leg kick goes up, the less control you kind of have. And there's outliers.
Sure.
I'm sure there's going to be some fucking hitting coach out there saying, actually, bro, that's not right. There are outliers in the game. Okay. And I think people don't discuss that enough when they're talking hitting, Jake, is that not every person can move their body the same. Like, I don't know. Go check it out. Some guys can make those moves. Some guys work on them. Who comes to mind? Justin Turner, Bautista. Like, there are guys that can do it. Their bodies work differently, whatever it is. I think Jackson needs to make that adjustment. And if he does, I think he's going to be the guy. I also think he's just so young and there was a lot of pressure. So, swing adjustment, yes. Time in the big leagues, dirt on the spikes, that means something, dude. He's seeing the best pitching he's ever seen in his
Right.
life. And like sometimes you just need a little bit of an adjustment period. So I'm going Jackson Holliday. I think he's got like the glove to play. He's got all the actions. He does everything right. And that's not like something crazy to say. He was the 1-1 pick. I think he was the number one overall prospect in the game. So kind of a layup for me there. But with those small adjustments and just a little bit more time seeing that type of pitching, I think he's the guy.
Yes, it's all there. Like, the minor league numbers are crazy. Remember, there was a little bit last year that I think the past couple years that this became a Norfolk Tides program because of everyone the Orioles had coming through and just dominating. And I remember when Jackson Holliday first came up and like the struggle was getting real, and then we looked back at AAA and he wasn't killing it where the rest of his minor league numbers were. I think he went back down and he crushed, and his career minor league numbers and AA and AAA, like in 73 games at AAA last year, he got on at a 431 clip. Like that's special. All of his minor league career numbers are special, especially when you factor in he just turned 21. So I thought I was a little surprised. A couple guys I will hire when I take over the Colorado Rockies are you and our friend Foolish Bailey and watch you guys fight every day. He had actual concern for how bad Jackson Holliday's cup of coffee was because there's not a lot of guys. Like it got pretty dark. A 565 OPS. Like he was really on the hitting struggle bus. I'm interested to see because it's where baseball can become sick, Trev, that the Orioles are now trying to compete and they have other bodies that if Jackson Holliday is still really struggling, it becomes an interesting conversation because, okay, what if there's mentals, there's leg kicks, there's everything that gets tied into this game that if the light bulb fully kicks on in 2 years from Jackson Holliday, that's still incredible. He's 23 years old. It could kick on this year. He is going to be one of the more interesting players to watch. Probably spring training matters for him, which you can't say that for a lot of guys. Like, we do that conversation every year.
I'm curious about that.
Yeah, like,
He does or not.
If he struggles, it becomes a conversation. So, it's interesting. I wonder, in that division, Junior Caminero, we discussed him before and some of his Winter League highlights. Like, don't be surprised if that guy becomes a star of star. Jackson Holliday, like, if he comes out and has an April, the Orioles, they were kind of America's sweethearts for a little bit. They ended up in a little bit of an abyss, and it just feels like there's a lot of teams that have had a lot of other stuff happening around them. If Jackson Holliday has a good April, never mind Adley and some of the other guys, like the Orioles will be back to look at all these young, amazing studs.
Yeah, I think the spring training discussion is interesting with him. If he really struggles out the gate, I wonder what they do. If it's a mediocre spring training, I think he goes and starts and they see how he does during the regular season. If he goes and crushes in spring training, everyone's gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, see, he just needed some time, figure some things out." So I wasn't even really thinking about that. I was just like, yeah, they're gonna give him a shot again. But if he does struggle, I'm very curious to see kind of how they handle that. Obviously, Junior Caminero is a guy that we're all going to be watching. Yes, we've seen his Winter League highlights, but he's going to be a guy. We're just picking one from each division.
Right. We could.
Jonathan Aranda, also on the Rays, is another guy we can talk about. He had a great, end of the season there. I'm curious to see where they put him. Is he going to be the everyday DH down in Tampa? I don't know if Austin Wells kind of is in this mix. He kind of already had success at the big league level to a certain extent. So I think that he's maybe not the best for this discussion. But again, there's going to be a bunch of guys who we're probably not going to go in depth about. But
so many.
I thought Jackson Holliday was the right one for the AL East.
It's funny. He was a guy we talked a lot about, and then it kind of went away a little bit. And yeah, man, I mean, Rafaela from the Sox, there's a few guys. Will Wagner slotted to be in the middle of that Blue Jays team. Let's see it, kid.
Rafael and Tristan Casas, I think, are already past. Like, they've had success at the big league level. A breakout maybe means some different things to different people, but
Casas, I think
they've established themselves as big leaguers. Like,
Casas,
they're going to play every day.
Rafaela,
he's a big leaguer, bro. No, he's a
big leaguer, absolutely. But he could become like a star. Like the kid showed a lot where the stats landed was not star level. So it'll be an interesting thing. Trev, you're the king of the AL Central.
Oh, I'm going straight AL the whole time? I thought we were gonna go back.
Oh,
and back.
you want to bop? I'll bop.
I'll go. Hey, I'm ready to run, Pop. You tell me. I thought we
You
were
run.
bopping.
Let's get the AL.
Okay. Bias, AL Central.
Yes.
You know where I'm going with this one.
Right.
And I don't think we're gonna lump. Did we decide
Fantastic.
we're gonna lump?
You can soft lump.
Soft lump. Okay.
Yeah.
Soft lump, Eddie Julian. I don't know where he's going to play. If he gets traded somewhere, I don't know. This guy has the ability to hit at the major league level. He just has to swing more.
Right.
He's too patient. Okay. The guy that I'm talking about for the Twins is Matt Wallner. And you might say, hey, Trev, this guy's already had success. And it's true. But he really hasn't had like the full opportunity that he's going to get this year. He's going to have a full year in the big leagues. Last year, they sent him down very early on. He struggled. He strikes out. He's a big left-handed outfielder, has an absolute cannon from the outfield, one of the best arms in all of baseball, and hits the ball as hard as anyone in baseball. I think he's one of only 6 guys to hit a ball over 116 miles an hour last year. This guy absolutely mashes the baseball. Calling the Minnesota Moose. His stats overall last year are really good. I mean, 800 plus OPS and 850 OPS. You asked me about him in a late night text. I don't know where your head was at thinking about Matt Wallner. Not to your Yanks. We're not trading him. All right.
Fine. But we are
so
interested.
for him, I think it's a little bit different than Jackson Holliday to truly break out. I think he obviously has to cut the strikeouts down. And how do you do that without sacrificing power? For him, I think you just think about a little bit more contact because the power is there whether he freaking tries to sacrifice it or not. There are certain guys, and I remember we had this discussion about Matt Olson when I was taking BP, and I said, I think you got a little more power in there, bro. He's like, I'm going to hit 40 home runs, and you're going to be out of the game in like a year and a half, you loser. I think for
nice
him,
wife,
if
though.
he...
Nice wife.
What was that?
Matt Olson that was the end of Matt Olson's conversation. Like, oh, you got a nice wife. Sorry you're a scrub, but you have a nice wife.
That's not true. I'm actually very good friends with Matt Olson. He would give me a hug if we saw each other. We had the Last Supper. I don't know if you remember that. Matt Chapman, Matt Olson, Chad Pinder, then they all left.
Before they got rich on you.
They did. I told them they're all going to get rich.
Oh, it's you and Chad Pinder.
Except me and Chad Pinder. So for Matty Wallner, I think what will truly make him break out, number one, is a full season. Like, this guy has 40 homer potential. He's got to strike out less. There's no doubt about that. And so, again, how do you do that if you're him? You just got to focus on contact just a little more. And you don't want to take away. I think people say, oh, you don't want to take away his power and his ability to kind of get that ace swing off. 2 strikes, you just got to, I think that is the main thing. Put the ball in play with 2 strikes a little bit more, have that mindset, which the Twins did at the end of the year. I was on the broadcast talking about it. You got to just battle with 2 strikes. Like, you have a chance that, early in the count to go up there and try to do damage. But when you get to 2 strikes, if you really just tone it down a little bit, you'll find that you still have power. There are times, Jake, man, where you say, I'm going to take my 2-strike approach. I'm going to choke up a little bit. I'm going to spread my feet out. I'm just going to try to be simple and put the bat on the ball. And all of a sudden, you will smoke a ball. And you'll go, oh my gosh. Like, I should take this approach all the time. There are times where you think that as a big league hitter. For Wallner, I think that is the biggest thing. And the Twins started to do that at the end of the year. And they started to talk about it. Like, Carlos Correa was like, yeah, we're just really trying to put the ball in play more with 2 strikes. And I was like, thank you. We're doing it. Matt Wallner, 2-strike approach, just tone it down a little bit. And dude, I think this guy has the potential to be like a 900 plus OPS guy. I don't know about elite defense in the outfield, but he has a great arm. So like, if he positions himself the right way, he might get some putouts, which will be, that brings your outs above average up. And he's kind of my guy.
Trev, we mentioned Tristan Casas briefly, and we basically said Casas isn't eligible for this list. Like, I've seen Tristan Casas hit across a couple seasons. He's gotten banged up a little bit, but like, I think as a baseball player, he's feeling really good about himself, and maybe he is a breakout. Maybe he has a 45-homer campaign, and we're like, wow, look at who that is. Matt Wallner's numbers are better across the board.
She's 894 last year. Sorry.
Trev, that's why I'm up late texting you about Matt Wallner because A, I'm a little bit of a weird duck. B, Trev, if this guy was in a bigger market, 251, 366, 500 slugging, 866 over his career OPS. All of those numbers last year when he played are up. That, Trev, you're talking about this guy changing his approach and maybe becoming a 900 OPS guy. If he does this for $150, he's one of the best players in the sport. Never mind getting better, which you're saying there is room in the tank for this. So that's why I was happy for you to bring Matt Wallner to the table, because these numbers amongst corner outfielders or anyone in the league, Trev, you know how many guys had you mentioned this guy might have 900 OPS potential. Of qualified hitters, do you know how many guys did that in baseball last year?
I know it's not a lot, Jake. I would say 900, probably. I'm going to go 11.
9. And you started going into Matt Wallner's defense. 4 of those guys are DHs. So, like, Ohtani, Alvarez, Rooker, Ozuna. So, the fact that this guy, that everything you said in the conversation is fair and brought to the table is nuts. And it's a little Minnesota. And I know Bobby Srirachi was telling us before, he's like, the Pacoda, which every year they come out, they have the Twins projected to win the AL Central, which is funny because they hadn't signed anyone until Danny Kalum, and we get the Guardians are a factory now, and whoa, the Tigers, are they happening? Look at how sick these Royals are. A lot of things still like the Twinkies, and part of that is this goddamn moose.
So I know the numbers there. It's just the games played. 75, whatever it is, over the last 2 years. This guy needs a full run. And he was, like, I guess, kind of blocked. The Twins for a while have had an excess of, like, left-handed hitting outfielders.
Kepler, Larnack.
Yeah, Kirilloff. Like, they had a lot of guys, so it's just they didn't know what to do with them all. And so he came out and struck out, like, almost like at a 50% clip in his first month or something like that. And so they sent him out. Then when he came back, he was just like a masher. But that's the thing. I mean, you look at the strikeout percentage. Last year, 36.4% strikeout percentage. League average is 22.6. Bring that thing down to the high 20s, and we will see those numbers become absolutely elite. And nobody really knows about Matt Wallner.
I agree with you, and I kind of disagree.
Like,
if
just
he does
let him
this
be
with the strikeouts, that's an amazing baseball player.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying. He can be better. And you know what, Jake? Not everyone needs a swing adjustment. And it could just be more time, like I mentioned, more time seeing quality major league pitching.
Right.
You know, you start seeing it more and more, and those strikeouts will start to go down. His have fluctuated throughout his career, 38.5 his first year, 31.5 in 2023, then back up to 36.4. That was, I think, a lot buoyed by that first month. But again, I think the best players in the world would look at that and say, I'm going to fix it. So if he truly wants to be reach his potential, then yes, he needs to make the adjustment and not just do the exact same thing. Although I agree with you, the numbers are great and he just needs a full run, a full season. That's where I'd make the adjustment, man. Just really hone, and maybe not every single guy. You know, the 2-strike approach is interesting. Like, there are some guys you don't need to do it against. And then there's some guys with a wipeout, like, off-speed pitch, 2-strike pitch that you do need to do it against. So, it's pick and choose. I think the world of this guy. I've said it forever. I gave him the nickname. Like, let's go, man. Go Matty Wallner.
Again, our final apologies on the way out of the Central. Manzardo, Michael Massey, everyone on Detroit, Parker Meadows, Keith, everyone on the White Sox has a chance, right? But yeah, Matt Wallner lives rent-free in my head, and I'm excited to see what this year is, because if he plays 150 baseball games at this level or slightly better, he becomes a great player in the AL, and he becomes, if Royce Lewis plays, and sometimes we shy away from your Twinkies, but
health. Correa, Buxton, Royce, if they stay healthy, is
Moose.
It's everything. Wallner's been healthy, just
Two different
We
moves.
called him old dinosaur bones because he just gets hit and doesn't bother him.
I like that.
Yeah, I know you
There's
like
a
that
few
one.
of those. Dude, Rizzo. I mean,
Yeah,
Rizzo loves
old
getting
dinosaur
hit by
bones
a pitch.
Rizzo.
My God. Trev, why don't you wrap up who you have in the AL West?
I am going to go with a guy again who's had some success but needs to do it through a full season, and a guy who I think maybe he's on a team we're not gonna highlight a ton this
Mm,
year, or like maybe we will. Let me just shout out before I get to him.
okay.
Some of the A's, I think the
There's a
A's are gonna be
lot
a
of
sneaky,
candidates, dude.
fascinating team. You know, you could talk about Geloff, you could talk about like Lawrence Butler, like turning
Siders,
into a star.
Soderstrom. Like they
He was supposed to be the guy coming up. So there's that. There's Jacob Wilson. Quick, awesome story about Jacob Wilson.
okay.
Grew up the road from me. His dad, Jack Wilson, I'm sure a lot of people remember
Wow.
as an infielder. You didn't know
Yeah.
that?
Maybe we did this, or maybe we did it in the office.
His dad coached him in high school and then took a job at a college and coached him in college.
It felt like Jack Wilson was the Pirates shortstop for 25 years.
Awesome dude.
Okay,
Awesome
I
dude.
love that.
So they had a place that had a big yard somewhere out in Thousand Oaks, California. Shout out. They built a infield, and him and Jack and Jacob would be out there turning double plays together.
I mean,
And you know what that
come
does to
on.
me.
Come on.
Sick.
Come
Can't wait.
on.
I might move and have a bigger backyard just to freaking do that. Anyways, a lot of A's out there, but I'm gonna go with the guy on the Angels. And again, it's a guy who had some success last year, but I think has the potential to fully break out. It's Logan O'Hoppe.
Yeah.
Came over from the Phillies in the Brandon Marsh trade. Started off last year really, really hot. Was potentially going to be, an all-star for them, and it didn't happen. And then the thing that I think about with him and what's really going to make him, or I think can make him become a star, or the factors that he has now that maybe he didn't have before, was last year in August he went 6 for 76 after like starting the year off great. He goes 6 for 76, and that will bring you, Jake, to some dark places. Look at my outfit.
Yeah.
What is this?
A little dark.
Black.
Yeah.
You get into a little black hole where you just want to crawl and never look at anybody in the eye. It's very hard to show up to the park. You just feel like, man, I've lost it and I don't know if I'm ever going to get it back. When you go through that and then you come out and you have a September like he had, you bounce back and have a month to end it. You now have the superpower of saying, I don't give a you know what about a slump. I'm going to get out of it. That's what the best hitters in the world know. They know that, yeah, it might be not great for a little bit, but I'm going to get out of it. Once you have that knowledge, the confidence level goes from here to here. It's insane. So I think a full season of him last year, he played 136 games. I believe it was like top 3 for catchers. Get him another full season, let him do his thing. I just think that he is on track to becoming an all-star for the Angels, and someone who we talk about as a catcher. How many guys out there are offensive and defensive threats? I think he could
Right.
be both of those. So I think for me, fastballs for him last year were really bad as well. So there needs to be some sort of timing issue there, some sort of cleanup with his mechanics to get back on time to the fastball, because that's everyone's North Star. Do that now with the confidence level that you can get out of any slump, and we might see this guy. I mean, in 2023, Jake, albeit only 199 plate appearances, 796 OPS. If you get a catcher anywhere near the eights with an OPS and can, catch and frame and like can figure all that out, you're talking about a cheat code for your team. So I think if he can get back to close to that level, we're talking about the next Angels All-Star.
O'Hoppe definitely has another gear in him, and I love having that full season. I definitely value that, especially as a catcher, dude. Go watch a baseball game on TV with someone who doesn't watch baseball and watch their reaction the first time a ball gets fouled off and just hits the catcher in the forearm. And they're like, "Wait, are they
You
okay?"
show the slow-mo of it, and it's like,
There was a pitch last year. My sweet Jessica, she saw one of the catchers got banged up, and they did the standard protocol, shake it out, which obviously every doctor says works. And then they got ready to throw the next pitch, and she's like, "Wait, they're not going to stop the game?" No. It's nuts that now that he has 130 plus in the bag, you mentioned that massive slump. He knows he can get through that. The Darno effect will be interesting there.
yeah, I like that too.
That's, there can be some good Big Brother stuff there. It can also, if you have another slump to start the year and it's let's get Darno bats, it's a little tricky. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I also, just a funny, weird thing I've fallen into, the AL West catcher, Shea Bangeliers, has been mashing and playing. Yiner Diaz, mashing and playing. Cal Raleigh, on both sides of the dish, mashing and playing. And then our big boy in Texas, Jonah Heim, took a step back last year, but that could be a really nice catcher's division.
You can. I mentioned the fastballs for Logan. -9 run value, hit 191, slug 309 against him. The year before, had a +3, hit 260, slug 620. Just got it in him. Just a little mechanical issue. Clean it up. And again, that's every hitter's North Star. Get on time for the fastball.
Trev, fantastic work. And again, like we said, why Langford got considered. There was the A's roster. Mariners pitchers have all broken out. I'm sure there's.
Although we maybe came up with something that maybe the Mariners pitchers aren't that good.
Whoa. And there's our normal episode jab at Seattle. Let's go to the National League, the Big Brother. And now we'll let Poppy cook a little bit. And it's all brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. Super Bowl 59. Right around the corner. It's the perfect time to get in on the action with DraftKings. I'm heading down there Friday morning. Jeez. Right now, they're offering all new customers $200 in bonus bets instantly after betting just $5 when you use code Talkin. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning the Vince Lombardi Trophy. Little analytics there. And you have a shot to score big by betting on them at the DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code Talkin. Bet just $5 on any wager and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's code Talkin only at DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Trev, let's head over to the beautiful NL East, which had its tricks a little bit because the Marlins have a roster of young guys, and this has become a Xavier Edwards pod. The Phillies and Braves, I mean, it's tough. Tough to crack that lineup, man. And then the Mets are similar. We talk about out of the park Mark a lot, Alvarez. The team that's got a lot of guys that I'm doing my soft lump in this division. James Wood gets close to illegal for me because what that guy showed, but he may be the breakout player of the year. I mean, he very well, what he showed in his short sample time. I'm going to do the dude across the way from him. I'm going to go with Dylan Cruz. Again, if you're in the baseball world, this isn't like a hot pick. This isn't, this isn't the 18th round pick that I'm like, oh, I saw something here. Dylan Cruz was the 1-2 pick out of LSU. Go Tigers. The 1-1 is buddy Paul Skeens, who came up and has set MLB on fire. Like, how much have we talked about him? And by the way, they were like a debate. Like, when the draft came up, it was like, do you go with the pitcher or the hitter? He goes to the Nationals with the 2 pick. He comes up, he gets his cup of coffee, and this is a little more similar to Jackson Holliday. Not as bad, but it's the first time in his life he got beat by baseball. Like, Little League, high school, college. This is the first time he struggled. It wasn't big. It was 31 games, a 641 OPS. He was stealing bags. He had 12 steals, 3 homers. But Trev, what I like, and this is almost unfair to James Wood, is I kind of like when a dude gets punched in the teeth a little bit. Like what Dylan Cruz this offseason wasn't walking around tall. He wasn't walking around like I beat baseball. It's like, no, man, you got to the show, but you got beat. And I just think the national vibes are going to be good. It's a lot of young guys that have a lot in the tank. Like, even if it's a rough year, I think there's going to be a lot of growing pains and learning. Again, it's not the riskiest pick picking the number 2 pick to Paul Skeens, but I kind of like that he got punched in the teeth. The Nationals outfield, by the way, Wood, Young, and Cruz. If a couple light bulbs pop on in the corners, that's they're gonna rack up some more. He's gonna be 23 for the season. Every little box that half matters is checked with Dylan Cruz. That I'd be late to buying stock at this point, but I think it's gonna happen.
Yeah, you're not really getting stock at a discount on Dylan Cruz, and I think there are certain things that make him almost like a no-brainer to be at the very least, a good big leaguer. I think this exercise isn't, well, what's the riskiest dark horse candidate? It's like, who's going to break out? This guy, the floor is so high for him. I think that's a great way to put it. Like he's going to be him and PCA, I think are very similar. Guys that are going to be in the outfield for the foreseeable future because they can run and they can play defense. So there's 2 of the 3 things that you have to do. Base running right now is very important in the big leagues. You know, getting those stolen bases. What's our stat?
OPS
plus.
OPSS plus.
OPSS plus.
Yeah.
Like he's going to get on base. He's going to steal. I mean, he's going to steal when he gets on base. He's going to run the bases the right way. He's going to take the extra base, and he's going to play elite outfield defense. Great. Put together a solid, solid season with the bat. And yeah, you're talking about an all-star level player. And for him, man, I'd mention he's got to maybe make some approach adjustment, or maybe he just needs to see some more of those nasty off-speed pitches.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see his spray chart from last year. He only had 2 hits the other way, and it's I'm
looking at it right now.
Some guys pull the damn ball, and that's fine. Or, was that him adjusting or sitting heater? Like, it's everything we just talked about. That's the beautiful painting of every baseball player. But yeah, I mean, clearly the talent oozes out of him. He was squaring up balls last year, and the athleticism and all that. That, yeah, it's funny. I liked what you said about the low floor, and this is a weird comparison. High floor, excuse me. That nobody's gonna like this, but it's just the name that pops in. When I think of like big time prospect that was good, but people set the bar out of this world for him, I think of Will Myers, because he was a huge prospect and he came on the scene like big. And then it was just funny, like Will Myers would rack up these 792 OPS seasons and 30 home runs, and we'd be like, oh yeah, that's Will Myers. And it's like, okay, that's incredible. That I'll be interested to see the next steps with Dylan Cruz, because God, that Nats team, man.
Can I do some math for you real quick?
Please.
31 games played last year, right? 12. So like full season, like 5 times that amount of games. That'll put you at 155. Nice math. 12 stolen bases times 5, 60 stolen bases. You want a guy like that in your team that plays elite defense? You do.
Right. And they also think he has a lot of other tools too. So that's kind of what we're talking about here. Let's hop over to the beautiful American League Centrale, where I have
National League.
I'm losing.
You're on it.
I'm losing it.
You own too many companies. You sold too many companies in your day.
Trev's been mocking my outfit, as he rightfully should. I just kind of got shook by the DraftKings read. I'm going to NOLA Friday morning, and I'm like so not there. Like, we're doing warehouse stuff tomorrow. Like, my brain is not there yet. In the National League Central, you mentioned my guy PCA that threw me off as well. My wedding buddy. Whoops. Again, young talent up and down the division. We could do the Cincinnati Reds as a team and just reach into the hat and tell me if you like them. Went somewhere else about it, and maybe it's just that time of the offseason where we've talked about a lot of teams a lot, and we've talked about a lot of teams a little. The Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm going with Skeens. I like his shape of his pitches. No. There's a guy that Pittsburgh fans yelled at us a little bit last year because they were like, there's something happening here. And I believe in it. Another first-round pick, 7th overall, a guy that his scouting report out of college was like, hitter. And I always like that. It's like, okay, that's a good sign. I'm going Nick Gonzalez. Up the middle for the Pittsburgh Pirates, playing some second base, 94 games last year, 270, 311, a 709 OPS. So again, not gangbusters, but he showed that he has a little bit of belonging at the major league level. And I know we get mad at our Pirates for not doing some more flashy moves here and there, but Nick Gonzalez is one of the guys that they believe in. He finished really strong. His August-September numbers ticked up. And he also, and you could put this as a pro or a minus, he mashed lefties. 837 OPS versus lefties, 500 slug. That I like when a guy has something you could just put in the pocket. Like, hey, Nick Gonzalez, you came up. The righties were getting you more often than not. Lefties you own. So this winter, go into the lab. What wasn't working? Is it sliders away? Is it the fastball beating you? If you can tick up versus righties and be a dude versus lefties at second base, I mean, you're looking at a 4-WAR, 5-WAR baseball player. I'm in on him, listed 5'9", 190. Which brings him right into the Storielli zone a little bit. Sorry, Pirates fans, there hasn't been more action, but this guy is part of the reason there hasn't been more action.
I got to see him play in person last year. I called the game in Pittsburgh there, and he's a guy that stood out. And in like an infield that, there's a bunch of guys that I really liked. Rowdy was playing first base at the time. He was just like, people were booing him big time because he stood up for, I believe it was Mitch Keller.
Might have been.
He stood up and was like, "You don't boo this guy." And then they were booing, so they would boo Rowdy when he came up, and then he was going off. So then they had the cheer Rowdy. It was great. So Rowdy was at first base. I think O'Neal Cruz was still at shortstop at that point, and then my guy Key Brian Hayes was at third base. So there's guys that I really liked. Nick Gonzalez stood out above all of them.
David Bednar, the closer, was getting.
It was Bednar, yeah, from Pittsburgh, all-star. You're right, yeah. Nick Gonzalez stood out over all of them. Fundamentally, just like the actions around second base, the at-bats that he was putting together, it just looked like, and I knew he was a young kid, it just looked like I was looking at someone that wasn't a young kid, like almost a more established veteran, where it didn't feel like he was lacking really anywhere. And I know the overall numbers are okay. And I think a 709 OPS, the slug necessarily wasn't there. OBP could go up a little bit. But those are all things you kind of expect from a young player. The series that I saw him, he was better. But I think if you're looking at chase rate and walk percentage, those are things that a guy that's, just has barely any dirt on his spikes, those are things that are going to happen. Those are things that are going to almost naturally get better. But the actions, everything, the confidence level was all there. And again, it really, really stood out for me while I was there. So, yeah, I think that, and I remember talking about him on the broadcast, like, this guy's pretty good. And sometimes my counterpart, Corey Pro's like, "Hey, will you stop talking about this guy a little bit?" But how I get when I get a guy, I get a guy.
You've got a sense for this. There's a couple guys going through this exercise Zach Geloff. I was like, Trev, the way Trev liked him, I feel like there's going to be a bounce back for him. And man, again, Gonzalez, he hits a lot of the minor league numbers. 287 games, 292, 388 on base, and 905 slugging from a second baseman. And then, yeah, he came up and he got, again, this is the Jake test. In 2023, he got called up for 35 games, got beat up a little bit. Last year, he plays 94 games. Everything's trending up. Don't be surprised if that happens again. And if he does that for a full season, that's a really good baseball player. And I don't know, there's something this is a little dumb, Jakey romantic side of the sport. I remember that draft, and like you expect all the guys, LSU, and I know, college baseball programs are a little different than your college basketball powers or your college football powers. But I was like, okay, so we're going through this draft. Arizona State, Torkelson, boom, sure. Arkansas, Kerstad, your boy Max Meyer out of Minnesota, Asa Lacy, A&M, Austin Martin out of Vandy, Emerson Hancock, Georgia, go Dogs. Nick Gonzalez, New Mexico State. And it was just like, okay, I tilted my head, and he hit 399 in college. So a little, you know what? Maybe he can hit. But I'm excited to see him this year. And again, the Cardinals, they've got some youth coming up. The Brewers, can you even count Joey Ortiz and Bryce Terang have broken out, and
Mitchell's showing his ability.
They have another army on the way. Yeah.
Can I go a little sidebar trivia for you real quick?
Please.
Who is a short king in baseball from Albuquerque?
Bregman?
Nice, Poppy.
Is he a short king? I feel like he doesn't want that.
He's a short king, Bob. What is he listed at?
I mean, the thing is, it's the company you keep sometimes, and he played next to...
He's listed at 6 foot.
Trev.
Okay, wrong. Wrong. Listed at 6 foot? There's no way. Bobby, pull up a picture of me and Bregman next to each other. There's got to be one out there.
You think there's just a picture
I'm not
of
really
you
sure.
and Bregman next to each other?
Sometimes you can just search that. Like someone took a picture during a game, they tag it. I'm
see.
6'1".
Images. Oh, God. The images that come up. Bregman alone, Bregman with Alonso.
Just know me. They're like
Pollock after he slid into you. It's you holding your forearm. This isn't a joke. Trevor Plouffe, Alex Bregman is what I typed into Google. That's the third pick. And then it's you and Jolly in an episode, so I'll go fuck myself as well.
Maybe I'm just a loser that nobody took pictures of, but I'm telling you, there's no way. I thought he was a short king. I thought 5'10". That was my guess.
5'10", you put on the spikes, that's 6. Yeah, I don't think he wants the short
Bregman's
king.
still putting out just absolute fire hype off-season workout videos, and it makes me a little sad.
Right.
But also, I'm like, dude, I love your swing so much. He's party out front right now, big time. Good for him. Let's get back to the episode.
He's got a guy, so don't think Bregman's chopping up videos. Because I remember he posted a hype video a couple years ago, and I was like, dude, sick. And the editor reached out and was like, yeah, that was me. I was like, thanks, man. Alex Bregman doesn't like me.
There's nothing worse than that.
Breggy's not into what I'm putting down. Trev, let's wrap it up. The beautiful American League West or National League West.
Can I just say something real quick?
Yes.
Joey Bart,
great
time. Had some times last year in Pittsburgh. I think he's going to be the starter this year.
Yes.
He worked on some different things. He's made a couple different swing changes in his career. Last year they were talking about working on his transfer and being a better defender. I mean, the Pirates. Come on, Pirates.
Maybe it was really hard to be Buster Posey's replacement.
He was going to be my guy before we decided to split this up.
His numbers were impressive last year.
Yeah.
Trev, the NL West, I don't want to end on a lull, but again, these are teams. Dodgers, everyone kind of knows. Teaser. San Diego Padres, again, you kind of know all those guys. My Diamondbacks, I debated doing Jake McCarthy, who again has kind of established himself as a big leaguer. It's what else is in there. My Rocks, we just recorded the Rockies TPP, and they're hard dudes, and go check that out. The San Francisco Giants, they actually have a lot of guys, although Tyler Fitzgerald's an interesting one. I'm going to circle back, and I do have a bonus soft lump that's special for Trevor Plouffe. I just want to circle back on one thing that we moved on from pretty quickly as a baseball world. The Dodgers' starting second baseman is listed as Hyeseong Kim, the 26-year-old from the KBO. They traded Gavin Lux, who was a top prospect, who had a massive second half last year. The Dodgers don't really care about money. They care about winning. Hyeseong Kim is listed on their as their starting second baseman. A guy that, again, came over from the KBO. His last 2 years have been a step above what he'd done previously. And like I said, that's age 24, age 25. And something just doesn't pass the sniff test, Coach, because why are the Dodgers, who basically brought Michael Conforto in as a $17 million bonus piece, and that's after 8 layers of signature moves, they circled Hyeseong Kim and said, we're into this. That, again, it's a little bit of the NL West and having a lot of pros already in lineups, that Hyeseong Kim, speaking of every opportunity to be successful, just watch out, because what's going on with this guy?
Okay, first of all, 2 Hyeseong Kims is not going to do well for me during the season.
So it's high and ha.
I know that's not easy.
I know.
Okay,
we'll work through it. We'll be less
Hyeseong
white.
Kim,
We'll get better.
Rays. Hyeseong Kim, Dodgers.
Yes,
That is, we're a tough name pod.
we are.
But we'll do our best.
Right.
So what are the Dodgers thinking? Well, this guy has won the Gold Glove in the KBO 4 times. Once at shortstop, then at second base.
Okay.
3 times.
All right. Put that. Okay. So
Boom.
if he plays 130 games, that's 3 WAR without hitting.
He's swiped at least 20 bags in all the 7 seasons that he played in the KBO. That's all the Dodgers care about. Do you think they need more offense? Do you think they care if this guy's in a slug or do anything? They're going to say, get on base, swipe some bags, and play your D. Oh, you're versatile too? Great.
Right.
Like, that's what they care about. Yeah, this is another one like you're talking about with Dylan Cruz and you're talking about with PCA. It's a high floor. When you do those 2 things right, those ones, speed don't slump. Defense rarely slumps. So, like, when teams are constructed, you have guys that you can count on to do those couple things, and the hitting can be a bonus. I don't know a lot about this guy. Let's be honest. I've done some research. We've read. I haven't watched him play a lot. Very curious to see how it all comes together. I do know that speed and defense translate. That's just the bottom line. If you get a guy, that's what I'm sure a lot of teams focus on, or you can focus on. Yeah, we're scouting the Asian leagues. Is this guy fast and play defense? Okay, he'll be fast and he can play defense over here too.
Right.
The hitting can be a little bit different. We know the pitching is different. But those 2 things translate no matter what.
Yeah, and it
excuse me.
Okay.
Because people are going to come at me with this one.
Right.
Tsuyoshi Nishioka.
Right.
Came over to the Twins. Gold Glover. Ron Gardenhire in spring training said, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy won multiple Gold Gloves, and it wasn't good. Your Yankees, Nick Swisher. No, he was on the Guardians or Indians at the time. Broke his leg, turning double play, all these things. Maybe that's the example of that doesn't translate, but I put myself in a pickle there a little bit.
I think our international scouting over the last 15 years has gotten a little better.
Tsuyoshi Nishioka was like MVP, like superstar, and it just did not work out.
Hey, I don't know the full story. That his 1 year before he came over looks like an outlier now. And sometimes the big leagues is just tough, and I don't I don't have the full Nishioka story. What I do have is the Dodgers, that we've talked about, a super team and unlimited money, and they can do whatever they want. It just feels, how easy would it have been for them to leave Gavin Lux as the second baseman this year? And they said, no, let's get Hyeseong Kim. So, and yeah, again, if you're a team in this division that's sick of Dodgers talk, well, again, Diamondbacks, your lineup in rotation is super veteran laden. Like, the Giants, you went out and made a ton of moves for vets as well. The bonus, the Plouffe kiss that you get the assist on, it's sometimes you see something, Trev, and that's why you're my front office man. Sean Reynolds.
Oh,
the only bullpen.
I forgot we're bringing this guy up.
The only bullpen guy mentioned. I laughed when you brought it up last year. I laughed today because Rob laughed. because Rob looked him up. Okay, so he's listed 6'8", 250. And that's one of those that guys that end of the scale, it's usually the opposite problem. It's like, oh, yeah, I guess I am 6'9". I haven't measured myself in 4 years. It's like, from me, kindly go fuck yourself. But he also got his cup of tea. How's 11 innings pitched and 21 strikeouts? Listed in the middle of that Padres rotation, man. If he gets the control stuff down, just watch out.
He's in the bullpen. I said they should make him into a starter. He has location problems because he did go 10 hits in those 11 innings as well, walked a few people. But you can chalk that up to, I don't know, like maybe being a little nervous, whatever. Like get him in a position, get him some confidence. The guy has absolutely electric stuff. And again, yeah, he's a massive, massive human being. I talked to him last year when I was down in San Diego, and he was just like so stoked. He's from Redondo Beach, which is not too far from San Diego. And he told me, he's like, dude, I can't wait to get to the baseball field. He goes, every day I wake up, I'm just like, can I go? Can I go? Can I go? And I'm like, dude, I love you. Like I love hearing that. If he becomes a guy and all of a sudden he's got 15 appearances in a row where he hasn't given up a hit, don't be surprised because we told you about him.
It's a pretty savant page if you're into that, and everything checks out. 6'8" with that heater, that slider. He threw a couple changes last year, and that's the fun part. If that happens, we will be talking about him transitioning to a starter next year, because it's the whole 2-pitch, 3-pitch situation. But yeah, Trev, that was one I remember when you put him on our radar, and then it's funny to look back and be like, okay, yeah, this guy, it's making it full circle. When you were talking about the minor leagues before, I mean, 6'8", 250 coming downhill is just different than a guy might have went to a big college and is 6'1" and has a fastball sitting at 92. That's just a different at bat. But yeah,
and Padres fans are not feeling great right now. We're talking about dealing Michael King. We're talking about dealing Dylan Cease. There's all sorts of stuff coming out in this lawsuit. I still believe in the Padres. If they do make those trades, I will change my view on them. But this is a little something for the Padres fans.
That's maybe that's what this ended up being for the Padres and the Twins, a little bit the Orioles.
Peter Bendix, you could have had this guy. You traded him. Did he trade him, or maybe that was somebody else? I don't know. It's
too many shout-outs on this program. You've already let us know in the comments who we missed, but please let us know. Common Arrow, watch out. We will be back Monday. Will Peter Bregman sign? Spring training.
Big sucks. Definitely wasn't Peter Bendix that traded him because he got drafted in 2016.
They talk about the 6'8" arm slot, but they never talk about the 5'7" arm slot. You know? That could be the future.
What if you had the highest release point?
Jumping off the mound?
It was just like an average release point.
Jump shot. Oh.